Hello lovelies, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I am, thank you. A little bit tired because I've had a tiny little adventure this morning and I can't talk for too long because I'm going to have another adventure in a little while. So, this morning I've been to a shop. Ba ba ba! It was quite a big deal. I'll tell you about that in a second. The reason I went to a shop was because, as I've mentioned previously, if I'm going out, I don't mean out, if I'm just going out, I try to sort of kill more than one bird with the stone, as it were. Actually, that's a horrible phrase, isn't it? I try to make the most of the effort of getting down these stairs, going out and doing whatever I'm doing. And normally everything's very, very local. And when I say local, I mean, you know, within a stone's throw from my home. So if I'm going to go to the garden and I've got some post, I'll go to the post office on the way. If I need to, as I did the other day, buy a light bulb. The bathroom light bulb has been out for ages. There are three, the little, you know, the little recessed ones. So it might be the kind of day where I go to the post office, do my postal stuff, go to the garden, do my gardening, on the way home, buy a light bulb. All done. Back home. Shoes off, bra off, relax. Talking of underwear. Anyway, so yeah, this morning I had to go out, and it's somewhere that I would, you know, 5-6 years ago, I would have considered it local and I wouldn't have thought twice about going there, walking. It's about 1.5 miles away. It used to take me about 15 minutes to walk down there, maybe 20 back because it's all uphill on the way back. These days, I cannot do a 1.5 mile walk, so it's a case of jumping on the bus. I'm getting slightly ahead of myself. Winding back 3 weeks or so ago. Is it 3 weeks or is it more? I mean, it's getting on for 4 weeks. Honestly, time is fleeting. I want to burst into that song from the Rocky Horror Show now. Time is fleeting. Yeah, it was when I'd come back from Auntie Teapot's and I had chickenpox. And I decided once again I would try and get a doctor's appointment for my knees ostensibly, but also because of the whole vitamin D thing. I wanted to get my bloods done again rather than just go out and buy online some really high dose vitamin D. I want to check my bloods first. So I thought I'm determined to get an appointment. And then behold, after a year of phoning and trying, I finally got a doctor's appointment. Yay! Now, the surgery I go to, you know what, this is going to be a bit like, do you remember in the two Ronnies when Ronnie Corbett sat in his chair to tell a story and he went all around the houses? I think that's going to be a bit of that this morning from me. So, I'll get to the doctor in a second. My GP, my old GP surgery is literally across the road from me. I mean, if I look out of my window, I can see my old GP surgery. It was fantastic. So handy for me. Especially with just that pure practical matter of walking, you know? It's just there. I could pop in. And loved the staff there, the doctors, what have you. Especially in the last year or so, excuse me, the two doctors who owned the practice were both easily late 70s, maybe even into their early 80s, long overdue for retirement. And in that last year, one of them had sort of semi-retired, so they got a new, young new doctor, yay! She was about 60, but she was great. She was really, really great, and she's the one who saw me through the whole thing of when I broke my wrists. I was getting a lot of pressure from work to get back to work because their attitude was, after 6 weeks, my bones should have healed, get back to work. But of course, it was all the tendon damage. I ended up being away from work for off the ward for over 7 months. I did go back after 6 months into the nurse specialist office, the office that sort of deals with all of our patients once they've left the hospital, but we're still caring for them out in the community. Anyway, I digress. She was great. She really, really advocated for me. It wrote some very strongly worded letters to my employer to say, stop bullying this woman, because that's what you're doing. You're bullying her to come back to work. She's going to damage herself for life if you keep pressuring her like this, and she needs the kind of the mental health space to heal. Anyway, great surgery, great practice. And then eventually the 2 guys decided to, finally, that's it, they're retiring. They shut up the practice. So all of their patients, including me, we got amalgamated in a big practice down the bottom of the road. This one that's 1.5 miles away. I think one of the problems has been, because this was the case even before COVID, they've obviously had to take on probably thousands of patients, those of us who were at that surgery, but they don't have any more doctors than they ever used to. So there's a huge pressure on appointments. So it's really difficult to get an appointment. And when you do, they have notices everywhere, all over the waiting room, on the website. It says 1 appointment, 1 complaint, which really, really annoys me. I've written to the practice manager a couple of times to say, firstly, that feels so aggressive to the patient. But secondly, someone might want to report 5 seemingly very random symptoms that they're experiencing, that are troubling them. If they're only allowed to talk about one of those things, we may not get the whole picture. If we know about all 5 of those things, we can suddenly put them all together and say, actually, it could be this, if you see what I mean. So it's always irked me that they say 1 appointment, 1 complaint. It's semantics as well to use the word complaint. I don't go to the doctors to complain. I go to the doctors to report a problem I'm having. I'm reporting, I'm not complaining. Yeah, there's a real negative connotation to complain, isn't there? I remember, as a nurse, I would never ever say my patient is complaining of pain. Because apart from anything, if your patient is a baby and they're non-verbal, how can they complain? So yeah, I would always say my patient is reporting pain, or my patient is reporting increased pain, or my patient reports that their pain is less today, whatever it is. Anyway, Ronnie Corbett, really digressing. So I came back, I've got my chickenpox. I thought I really, really want to speak to the doctor because I'm sure that my immunity is really, really, really low at the moment because of the vitamin D, hence So I got an appointment. Of course, it was a phone consultation. I got a junior-ish doctor. Maybe I bullied him. So as soon as he said, "Hello, Miss Gregory, what can I help you with today?" Something along those lines. I said, "Okay, I know we've only got 10 minutes. I have to tell you about 3 things. Please, 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 let me tell you about all 3 things." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, of course." So I started rattling through and I said, "Right, I'm pretty sure I've got chickenpox. 2 pharmacists have looked at it and think it's chickenpox. I just want you to confirm. I've taken a load of photos. I will send them to you right now. Give me your email address." So he did. It's like, "Oh, okay." Brilliant, sent those through so he could look at them. He didn't have time to look at them then, but he and one of the senior GPs at the practice phoned me back later to say, "Yeah, you've got chickenpox. Stay at home for 2 weeks." Anyway, got that out of the way, and then I said, "Right, I need some repeat bloods done. It's been over a year. We're supposed to be checking my vitamin D every quarter, I think. Yeah, every 12 weeks. It's been nearly 18 months. No, 16. Anyway, it's been over a year." He said, "Oh, okay, I'll order some bloods for you. Thank you. Oh, and finally, I really, 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 really need to see the orthopaedic team at the hospital to get my legs looked at again because they've deteriorated quite a lot in the last 2 years. Brilliant. So he straight away, how did it work? I can't remember exactly how it worked, but yeah, he got all that booked in for me. So this morning was bloods. I'm back this afternoon. I'm going to go to the local hospital to have the x-rays. I mean, it's silly to have x-rays, really. I think I need CT scan because I think it's soft tissue. I think it's the meniscus playing up. In my left leg, I don't have any. That's what they cut out last time. I think they need to cut it out with my right. Anyway, brilliant. That's all organised. I've got the bloods organised. Also, I now have an appointment with the orthopaedic team at the hospital. Yay! Next year. So it's a ways off. I think it's January. But great. It's getting that ball rolling again. So that's really great. I feel like I'm sort of, it's a case of I'm back in the system now. Yay! So, back to this whole thing about going out and killing all the birds with one stone. Must think of a new phrase. Because of where this new surgery is that I have to go to, the new doctor's surgery, it's also where they do the phlebotomy for local folk. These days, it's a bus ride. It's just too painful to walk. And also, it would take me so long. I mean, it's absurd to think, a mile and a half would have been, a 15-minute walk once upon a time. Now, it's going to take me an hour with a lot of stopping and sitting on garden walls to rest my knees a minute. So I thought, actually, while I'm out, I'll make the most of it. Oh, and I just thought of another thing. I was chatting to a friend a couple of days ago about the fact that one of the stations I use, I've got 2 local train stations, and the one I use when I go to my great aunt, again, it's only about a mile and a bit away, maybe a mile or so, 10-minute walk. These days I don't even walk that because that's too painful, so I get the bus. And I was sort of saying to my friend, oh my goodness, I'm getting through so much cash on my bus card. So in London, there's no cash on buses. We have like a little plastic card and we sort of top it up online, or you can top it up at the local corner shop, that sort of thing. So it's a completely cash-free system. And when you get on the bus, you tap your card, rather like, this like pay and go, what's it called? When you tap your debit card, same sort of system. And I was saying, I keep having to top up my Oyster card. It's called an Oyster card. It's doing my head in. And she said, why don't you apply for what's called a freedom pass? So for London, there are freedom passes for anyone over, I think it's over 60 now. It might be 65. It used to be for anyone over retirement age, but I think they brought it down a bit. Anyone over 60, I think. And it's basically, it's free bus travel all the time. It doesn't work on trains and the underground. I don't think it works on the underground. Anyway, also for the Freedom Pass, it's available for certain other categories of people as well, including people with disabilities. So when she mentioned it to me, I said, yeah, but I'm not classed as disabled. Now, it's interesting because she pointed out, she said, if you're having to take a bus to the doctor because you can't walk it, that is a disability. If you can't do something in your life now that you would do 3 or 4 years ago, you have gained a disability. So I don't know, it's something I'm going to look into, because honestly, if I could get a free bus pass, it would make such a difference. Where I go to buy fabric for making bunting and what have you, it's a bus ride away. So that I tend to do maybe twice a year, just to avoid that bus fare. But anyway, yeah, so I'll look into that. I think it's, if there's any possibility that, wriggle to get comfy, if there's any possibility that I can qualify for that, I can just see it out the corner of my eye, I've gone out of focus. Honestly, Why does my camera struggle? Is it the light? Anyway, we'll carry on. So, I'm just looking in the screen, which is annoying for you, isn't it? I can see I'm still fuzzy. Does that bring it? There we go. It just can't focus on my face. It can focus on my glass jar. I've lost my train of thought. Yeah. So, because I had to go on the bus down there this morning to get the bloods done, there is down there a sort of, it's one of these kind of like out of town retail parks, you know, where you get your big sort of DIY stores, your big electrical stores, that sort of thing. There's also a massive like hypermarket version of one of our UK supermarkets, Sainsburys, huge one. And down there they do obviously all the food, but they do clothing and some electrics and kitchenware, crockery, household linens, stationery, shoes. I mean, there's all sorts in there. It's huge. So I suddenly thought, I've had something on my really need to buy at some point list for months now. Knickers. The thing is, I do repair my clothes. I do darn things. I do, you know, if the seam pops or whatever. But it gets to the point, doesn't it, when, you know, there's no fabric left to stitch together. It's all repairs and all darning. So I thought, while I'm down there, I'll go and get myself some knickers. Just nothing exciting, nothing out of the ordinary, just some simple knickers. And then I thought, because it's been so long since I've done any supermarket shopping on that sort of scale, I suddenly remembered I'd got, you know, one of these, what do they call it, loyalty card. I suddenly remembered I got a loyalty card, which I haven't used for years. I just don't do that kind of shopping. But I thought I'll check, I see if there's, you know, what I've got by way of points to convert into money to spend. So it turned out I had enough for the knickers plus 20 quid. I was amazed. So I bought myself something. Now, this isn't an impulse buy. It was also something I've had in my mind for ages. I've got it here to show you. It's just a little, we're going to go out of focus again, aren't we? It's like sort of denim cloth. Nice big pocket here. It's like a, what do you call it? A pinafore dress, like a dungaree dress. Only short, up there, but really, really strong. Like I say, it's almost like denim cloth. It's for gardening. One, it's got pockets. It's got pockets either side. I love a frock or a skirt or trousers with pockets. But I've been after something for ages to be wearing in the garden that's kind of, you know, quite tough and sturdy, that's got pockets. Basically, I've been thinking about an apron. And yes, I could make an apron, of course I could, but I'd still have to buy the fabric for it, time, etc, etc. Anyway, it happened that while I was in there fetching out my knickers, I saw this, it was 20 quid, and I thought, you know what, let's have it. Because like I said, it's something that's been on my mind for ages. But it's just time. Always boils down to time, doesn't it? Time to make it, time to go out and buy the fabric. And like I said, I'd still have to buy the fabric. But the thing about this little trip this morning, it was so weird. It was just really, really weird for me to, you know, be out in this big shop, just overwhelmed by stuff, where you sort of go in, the sort of the first section of the store is the clothing. But then to get to the cash registers, you sort of end up going through Homewares. I mean, it's very clever, isn't it? You get led through all these areas. And then sort of through a bit of the groceries, and then you can get to the checkout. And it's just like my senses were just assailed by all this stuff. I went past one aisle at one point, and it was fresh in the chiller juices, like fruit juices. Just this vast, long aisle of fruit juices. And I was thinking, how can there be so many fruit juices? You know, there aren't that many fruits in the world. What? It was massive. I found it shocking almost. And I was thinking about this on the bus on the way back. It just shows how, I mean, I've always been quite frugal anyway, as you know. And that store I did used to go to about once a month, do a big shop, always in the budget ranges, even when I was working and had money, keep it to my budget, come back with a rucksack in those days, not my granny trolley, a great big 75-litre rucksack, absolutely stuffed full, trudge back up the hill. Going now, it's just made me, I've gone out of focus again, haven't I? Maybe if I just keep, look, can it focus on that? I wonder why the camera does it. I wonder if, I'm looking in the screen again now, I wonder if it's because there's so much detail behind me. The camera simply, my face doesn't know what to focus on. Anyway, yeah, it sort of shocked me in kind of almost a pleasant way of going around there thinking, this is now just so alien to me. It's weird, isn't it? A big supermarket, it felt utterly alien. I was walking through, I had to go through the Homewares bit, and you'll have seen from all my cooking videos, I use a cast iron pan for almost all my cooking. It's the one that's got the sort of creamish coloured enamel on it. It's like a kind of a rip-off of a Le Creuset pan. That pan came from this particular shop, and I must have bought it when I moved in here. This is nearly 20 years ago, and I think it was about 20 quid. I can't remember, but I think it was about that. They still do that range in the shop now. I mean, it's really, really good quality stuff, and, you know, as you can see, 20 years on, it is a little bit stained on the bottom inside, but looking at it from the outside, you'd never know it's 20 years old. Anyway, I saw them in there today, and they were sort of 40, 50 quid. I am utterly out of touch with how much things cost. I'm out of touch with how much shoes cost. Like I say, there's a branch of Clark's, which is one of our high street shoe shops. It's been around for donkey's years. Clark's is where you go when you're a kid for your shoes, and you put your foot on this little kind of slopey platform, and there's little bars that move so they can bring them in to measure your feet. I was terrified of that contraption as a kid. I thought it was going to crush my foot. Anyway, so there's a branch of Clark's in there, and I just saw a couple of the, you know, prices on shoes of sort of 60, 70 quid. I was like, wow, yeah. So I'm completely out of touch on, this focusing. There we go. Maybe I need to just shout at the camera. I'm totally out of touch with prices on clothes, prices on shoes, prices on homewares. I'm just utterly out of touch, because these days I either just do without or buy secondhand from charity shops, that sort of thing. Now, yeah, it was quite an interesting experience. Someone was asking me recently, how do I avoid impulse buying? you know, suddenly surrounded by all these things going, buy me, buy me, buy me, asking for my attention. The answer, at least in my case, is ridiculously simple. I don't impulse buy because I don't have any money to impulse buy with. So I've talked about it briefly should I talk about it in my budgeting video? I can't remember, but I've got 2 bank accounts, each with 2 accounts in them. This pays all my direct debits for my bills, and there's a savings account so that, for example, some bills are annual. So let's say I've got an annual bill that's 600 quid. That equates to 50 quid a month. So it's not a monthly direct debit, so I put it into the savings, so that when the bill does come, I can transfer it into my direct debit account and send it off. So, for example, when I get my YouTube money, it goes straight into the bill paying, and the excess goes over here in the savings. My other account is more like a current account. So I've got a current account plus a savings account. This is my contingency savings. So in that account, I save for a new computer. If my computer ever breaks, touch wood, it's okay at the moment. It's for a brand new sewing machine if my sewing machine completely failed. It's for my sewing machine maintenance fund, that sort of thing. That account at the moment is completely empty. I had built up a nice kind of buffer in there, but that's all gone on solicitors to pay for this lease issue. The lease is a separate issue. And then here, the actual current account, that account may only have 10, 15 quid in it. And that's what I keep for my sort of weekly bits of food shopping or those little extras, loo rolls, laundry liquid, that sort of thing. So in terms of impulse buying, it really is that simple. If you don't have any money, you can't impulse buy. You know, I could get arms full of stuff in the shop, take them to the checkout, tap my card won't work, there'll be insufficient funds. So I think actually for any of you who are really trying hard to save, and for whatever reason it is, one of my suggestions would be that in your current account, that one that you use for weekly shopping, the one that historically you've used, get myself back in focus, that you've maybe used for buying your coffee on the way to the station in the morning, buying a packed lunch because you haven't made one. Maybe I'll just sit this close. No, it's too scary. That account that I'm talking about, instead of keeping money in there, put that money into savings. If you need a bit that next week for your grocery shopping, of course transfer a little trickle of it back. But if you haven't got any money in the current account, the one that's the card that you go shopping with, you simply can't impulse buy. It's as easy as that. It really is. And you know, if there is 15 quid in the account, or let's say I'd got 20 quid in that account and I'd seen this pinafore today, you could think, oh yeah, well I do have 20 quid. Oh, I could get it because I've been after a garden pinafore for ages. If I did that, in the back of my mind, I know that that's my food money. So if I get short of food, there'll be no money for food. You know, it really is that simple. So I don't. I mean, I know I'm really disciplined and strict, but yeah, that's how I've been able to, you know, get to this stage and be happy and all right with it. Anyway, I told you that was going to be an all around the houses affair, didn't I? It's like you've been all around the houses on the bus with me. So that was a good little, let's bring you in really, really close. Oh no, it can't cope, can it? What if I send your wall backwards? What if I do that? It still can't. Oh, poor camera. It's weird because it works perfectly well outside in the garden. I wonder, let's see if this works. I'm just going to experiment while I've got you with me. If I come around here. Right. You see, because I was thinking it's maybe because there's too much detail in the back. Maybe what it is I'm bringing you back this way so you see what I'm talking about. The colour of the bureau and the colour of my face, they're not too dissimilar, are they? Maybe that's what it struggles with. So let's have you there. I'm sitting really wonky now. I'll remember this for next time and try to swing myself around. So, just a quick little catch up. I've probably been talking for ages, as is my wont. But yeah, I'm really excited that I'm sort of back in the system for getting my knees looked at. I'm really glad to get these bloods done this morning. Once I know when my vitamin D is at, I'll be more than happy to take a really high supplement. Like I said before, I'm not going to self-medicate until I know what my blood numbers are. Because too much of something can be a bad thing. So yeah, glad that's all underway. So glad to get some new knickers. It's the littlest things that please, isn't it? It would just be so nice to put on a pair of knickers and not have my thumbs go through the side. Again. Can't wait to try out my pinny in the garden. I think that will be, at this rate, tomorrow. I've got lots of really boring admin-y kind of stuff to do again today, but that's fine because, like I said, later on I'll be heading off up to the hospital. Now the thing is, I was thinking about this, but I'm not going to. I don't know. Where the hospital is, if I was to stay on the bus another 1, 2, 3 stops, the bus would tip me out opposite, near enough, my favourite fabric shop. The excitement of this prospect of going to the fabric shop made me choke. Yeah, and I did think maybe let's go an hour or so early, go to the fabric shop, then go to my x-ray appointment, then come home. But then I thought, actually, no, Vivi. Again, this is where I'm really good at being disciplined. I've got masses of fabric. I mean, I've not even touched any have I touched any sewing in months? No. I've got masses of fabric, tons and tons of fabric to be getting on with, more than enough to keep me busy until next spring. If somehow I manage to make a load of time free for sewing and I run out of fabric, then you know what? I will go up to that shop. But who knows, by then, maybe I'll have got this Freedom Bus Pass. Really excited about that. Definitely going to look into it. Because apart from anything, I think it would be really fun, just in terms of, I could get up into the centre of London for free. And the bus ride between me and the centre of London, I love that bus ride. I can just go and have a bit of a day out. That would be really nice. I've gone fuzzy again. Hang on. What if we go really, really, really grey in the background? Honestly, I don't understand this pesky camera, because if you think about it, this shot is like a shot I do in my shed. There's light. Oh well, look, I'm going to have to say a fuzzy goodbye to you all, because where's my water gone? Sorry, this is just not good enough. Maybe you should just, it's a podcast. Think of it as a podcast. All right, my lovelies, it was supposed to be a quick catch-up. I know I've talked for absolutely ages, but I really love chatting to you all. I just like hanging out with you, and I know that for some of you, you like hanging out with me in this way too, so yay! I will see you all again really soon. It will almost certainly be back in the garden, because the garden rescue mission is a go. I'm going to get, I think, 2 days there this week. Girding myself for an effort, but really, really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to some quality time in my garden again. So I will see you down there amongst the greenery really soon, I hope. But in the meantime, please look after yourselves. If you're going out, make the most of it. Check your old supermarket loyalty card things. If you've got some in the back of your wallet that you haven't used for ages, check to see if you've got a bit of cash on them. And if you have, maybe this is the opportunity to buy something that's been on your need/wish list for months, maybe even years. Now's the time you can do it. Yay! Oh, when I see you in the garden, I'll have my new pinny on. Yay! All right, lovelies, take care. Cheerio, I will see you all then.